So I've come to believe that the more you talk about grip with people, just the more and more time we spend talking about the nuances of how to grip a pistol, the more it messes people up. Really, that's what I think. So with that, let's talk about how to grip a pistol. All right. What I like is that I want to hold the pistol in a consistent, predictable, repeatable fashion. And in terms of philosophy, we're not trying to stop the gun from recoiling. It's going to do that. We're not trying to control the recoil. We just want like what it does and how the gun feels. Again, it just should feel consistent and predictable. And once that's happening, it's like the gun's going to recoil. It's going to recoil either way, no matter what. And I just accept that. And we're not trying to stop it from recoiling or stop it from, stop the sight from climbing up and recoil. That's going to happen. Instead, I just want to be consistent with what I'm doing. Now, I think this is a different philosophy than most. Like the guys that I train with or the instructors that I work with, we all think this way. But I think most people don't. Like most don't think this way. They're like, oh, okay, we're going to, have some theories about, whatever hand position or pressure stuff. And like, that's going to be, that's going to be the ticket to like shooting better. And I don't really think that way. Instead, it's like, yep, I'm going to hold the gun high up on the backstrap with the dominant hand, non-dominant hand, connect that to the pistol, again, in a consistent way. And then, as long as I'm not fighting with the gun or trying to push it down or trying to make something happen, I just visually look where I want to go. The gun's going to track over there. It'll track over there when I transition. It'll track back down to that spot in recoil. Again, the key is the philosophy is the key. It's like I'm trying to be consistent and predictable. I'm not trying to stop the gun from recoiling. Now, I'm not very dogmatic about any of this stuff either. It's like the philosophy is what matters. It's like the actual hand position doesn't really matter that much to me. So you want to hold the gun like this. This is most people. Why do we like this? Well, easy spot to run my hand into in the trigger guard, and then I can connect to the gun. It's easy to be consistent doing this with this index point. But you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. You could even, like, shit, Lena Micklick does this and she shoots okay. Now, I'm not telling you to do this, but this for sure, like, this would be okay. Why would you not do this? Well, if I wrap my finger around the front of the trigger guard, I get going in a hurry shooting. And the pressure starts changing. You can see I start steering things around. And that's what we want to avoid. It's like whatever advantage you get from kind of hooking onto the gun and you have this idea you're going to stop it from recoiling up like this. Yeah, I understand that. But again, like the concern is that the pressure here changes. But if you shoot this way consistently, like you're not changing the pressure in your non-dominant hand, this is fine. Like Griffel shoots like this, it's fine. You could totally do this, no problem. Again, it's a philosophy thing. Like things, like I'm fine with whatever, essentially, as long as it's not really changing. Now, there's a little bit of nuance you can get into, I suppose. Like with thumb position, you'll see my thumbs here kind of float off the pistol. Again, this is philosophy. It's like I'm like whatever advantage I get, like putting my thumbs into the gun and trying to hold it still so it's not moving. It's like, well, I'm going to start to interfere with controls depending on the model of the gun. I have to change guns all the time for work anyway, so like I don't like that. I want to have a very consistent technique. So I'll just put my thumbs, let them float off the gun, and not steer things around with those either. Now, the more stuff you try to do, like let's say you get a thumb rest on here and you put your non-dominant thumb on the thumb rest and you have it in your head like, oh, I'll push down on the thumb rest and that'll control the gun. Does that work? Yeah, that's fine. But you got to be consistent with the pressure, right? Again, it's like, it's not about the amount of control you get. It's like you have to be consistent with the control. That is really the key. And I really think that's where people get messed up. And that's why I say like talking about this stuff more and more, it just messes people up. Here's an example. So like, we have people shooting, they're training, come to class, whatever. As they're shooting, or as anybody's shooting really, it's very difficult to keep the pressures in your hands the same. You start feeling recoil. Typically, the dominant hand tenses up, and the non-dominant hand, slides forward or leaves the exercise or whatever. That's the typical pattern you see. And what I would want is that, hey, put your brain power on what your hand's doing and make sure that's not happening. If that's the case with you, the whole training pathway that you need to get on is you train at an aggressive pace and you put your conscious brain on the thing that you're trying to change. Now, the more nuanced you get with grip, and this is why I say, this is why it doesn't really help people to talk about this more and more and more. It doesn't really help because maybe you'll say something like, ooh, I draw the pistol and get on it, and then I just roll the pressure on, or apply pinky pressure, or push in with your thumbs or whatever. And people hear that, they're like, okay, that's the thing. And now their conscious brain goes onto that little nuanced thing, putting pressure in the side with their thumb. They think that's the key, or whatever. I mean, I hear the pinky pressure thing sometimes, oh yeah, roll pinky pressure in there, or trying to separate the pressures between individual fingers and stuff like that. I mean, that kind of stuff is fantasy land for people. It is fantasy land. It's very difficult for me to do. For less trained people, it's good luck. But the problem is people hear that stuff and they key in on that, and their conscious brain goes on to that nuanced thing or little detail that's really not that important. The bigger, and while they're messing up the bigger picture, they're focused on their thumb pressure here while their dominant hand's driving bullets, driving them down, and you're just holy shit. That's not what we're trying to do. And this is why, I get this question a lot. This is why if you come to a class with me or people around me, we pretty much all think the similar-ish on this issue, where it's standing here and talking about gripping for an hour, it's not going to help anybody. It just messes people up. And really, this is the concepts I'm talking about. It's best if you experience it for yourself. I mean, you shoot the pistol aggressively, then you're oh, okay, I kind of feel what he's talking about with these pressure changes and this and that. I understand what's going on here. Apart from that circumstance, apart from actually doing it and experiencing it for yourself, it's like trying to explain the color pink to a blind person. They have no frame of reference, if that makes sense. Anyway, that's my philosophy on grip, and I hope I hope some of you guys, especially the newer guys, take that to heart. It's not really a complicated idea. It's just a little bit weird, right? It's a weird idea because intuitively, what people want to do when they get a gun in their hand, they want to fight with the recoil because they're oh, this thing's pushing on me, so I'm going to push back. And then the more I push back, or the more I stop it from rising, the faster I'm going to be able to shoot. And I understand that kind of thinking, but you change up the philosophy, change up the approach to consistent, predictable, repeatable, and I think you get where you want to go a lot faster. Questions, comments, you can put them down below.